So, Tron Ares. Is it as bad as people say? Is it good? Well, I'll give you my opinion in just a moment. Hey, welcome into Rob Wright Shanks Pop Culture. Thank you guys for being here. If you're here live, if you're watching this on replay, hi, how are you guys? I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Today, I just got out of the theater, just saw Tron Ares, just got home about 30 minutes ago. Been collecting my thoughts about this movie. So it's interesting. I will say that it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but I don't think it's the blockbuster that Disney's looking for, if that makes sense. Let's get into this. Let's talk about it. So, folks, over this past year, I have had to see some stinkers. I've had to see some movies that just weren't that great. I've seen some average movies. I even saw that awful Disney Snow White movie. I saw Fantastic Four that I didn't like. I saw Superman, which I liked, and a couple of in-between movies. Tron Legacy, a lot of people are giving it negative reviews, and I can see their points, but I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. But I don't know that I like it as much as anybody who truly, really likes it. So, it's probably in the middle for me. It's about between a 5 and a 6 for me, to be honest with you, to give you kind of fair ratings. It has some really cool action. That's what it has. It's going for it. It's really the action on it is really well done, and you kind of feel it if you watch in a big screen. And if you probably saw this in 3D, you're probably blown away. So it has some really cool effects. The music, well done by Nine Inch Nails. I'm not a big Nine Inch Nails fan, but the music fits the movie. It fits the movie perfectly, and it's really good. The acting, Jared Leto is okay. He's not as bad as you might think. Like, he's not. This isn't him as the Joker, which was awful. This isn't him in that awful Blade Runner sequel, which just seemed to go on and on. He does an okay job, and there's something to his character. His character actually has the only real growth in it, and that's where kind of the movie kind of has issues, and that's why I'm kind of in the middle on this movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it's a total disaster. I just think it's kind of it's kind of in the middle. So let me get into it. I'm not going to give you big spoilers. I'll give you kind of minor stuff that you kind of would need to know going in a little bit. You find this out like in the first 20 seconds, but basically Sam Flynn's not in it. I think part of the problem going into this movie is that Tron Legacy was such a great sequel and well done with a unique idea. And the very end of it had an interesting concept of bringing somebody into our world and how would they live and what happens when you go down that road. And I think the expectation was that Ares would embrace that and bring it forward. It does that in some ways, but in other ways it doesn't. So essentially, what happens is Sam Flynn didn't run the company very well, decided to resign, and then these two sisters kind of take over it, and that's who you're seeing. The girl of Asian descent is now the leader of MCON, and what this movie is about is kind of about, rather than a digital invasion, like in the last one in Legacy, you had Clue that was trying to be able to break his way into the real world and kind of take over. You don't have that. It's made to look a little bit like that in the trailers, but that's not what the movie's about. This movie gets into philosophical issues a little bit because it asks, what is life? And, Ares goes on this journey in a way to do that. But the problem is that the script is so flat. Um, you have a character like Ares who's asking questions, who's searching, and who's developing himself and developing kind of feelings and doing different things in this. That is your only real developed character. Um, the girl who's the head of MCOM, she's not super girl boss, which is good. It's still kind of woke. There's still some woke vibes, but it's not like to the extreme. But like she has help around her. She's not the bestest ever or can do everything, which is interesting. She's an okay character. She's not the best character. I don't totally hate her. I can accept her a little bit, but I don't vehemently dislike her. I dislike the idea that she took over the company and ran the company ahead of Sam Flynn, because I felt like any kind of sequel to Tron Legacy or any kind of sequel to Tron needed to have more connection to Tron Legacy. Yeah, Herc 130. I want Tron to be good so bad, but I'm not sure what I'm hearing. Herc 130. Yeah, here's the thing. There are aspects about this movie that's good. I mean, it's the soundtrack, the visuals are great. There are aspects of the story that are interesting that fascinated me. There's some really good member berries in there. If you are a fan of the original Tron, you'll love those member berries. However, the problem for me is that there's a flatness to the story that just doesn't bring it out. I mean, it's like you're rushing a script with, you've got the A story, and the A story is the only thing without bringing in B and C stories and developing your other characters around the main characters to really make this a good movie or even a great movie. This is an average movie. Sean Carter, hey, he's in a live stream right now, but wanted to drop in and say hi and leave a like. I'm not going to be seeing this movie. Too many bad reviews. Yeah, I don't blame you. This I would say, folks, if you're on the fence about this movie, wait for it to come out on streaming or digital and maybe catch it then. Because there's certain aspects of it that are good and certain aspects that are just kind of bad. It's not super cringe. You're not going into the area of like the sequel trilogy or anything like that. You're given something that's kind of flat. I think the problems that this movie has, the biggest problem is underdeveloped side characters in this movie. A plot that is okay, but it doesn't really go anywhere to really. It doesn't give you the answer to why. It gives you the answer to what, if you understand. So, like, if you think of like a movie and a plot, you're asking the why. Why is this important? Why is this important to the story? Why do we want to go from point A to point B? And instead of giving us the why that really helps it out, you're given the what, the who, the how, but you're not giving me the real purpose of it. And that's part of the problem. That's where this movie loses it. There's an aspect of what could have been the heart of this movie, but it loses it because it's such flat writing, if that makes sense. So you have a story with a lot of action. You have an interesting A-line story, which is kind of interesting in that sense, but there's no B or C line story to really bring it together. And your villains are kind of flat, and the people around them are flat. Darth Wanker, Herc 130's here. Darth Wanker's here. My granddaughter said she wanted to see it. Told her we needed to see the original. She didn't know anything about the lore. Critical Drinker, I think his channel said it was kind of crap also. Um, yeah, I mean, the problem with it is that a lot of people want it to be a sequel to Tron Legacy, and I don't think it really is a good sequel to Tron Legacy at all. I don't know that it builds off of Tron Legacy. That's the big problem with it. It's a Tron movie that will tie a little bit to the first one, but it doesn't. Its storyline is just a straight line. It's not. It doesn't. There's nothing more that happens here. You don't. It's just flat. It's flat. There was some potential to do something with this, but it didn't do it for me, guys. And it's not complete. It's not complete and total garbage because there's a great soundtrack. There's some cool action scenes. The action scenes work. It's interesting to see some of Tron Ares' story and where he goes. But the problem is that your main villains aren't as big a threat as they should be. There's not a development as to the why of the whole thing at the very end and the whole purpose of it. And there's not any development around the other characters to really lift up those stories. You got a little bit of the story of the CEO, but we kind of understand that really quick within the first couple minutes that she's just, it has to do with her sister, and that's it. I mean, it's real quick. That's the problem. Jared Leto's okay in this. He's not bad. He's not, over the top or anything like this. His character actually is the only character that really grows and changes, and he's the only one with any kind of depth. And that's part of the problem. That's a good thing for him, but it's a bad thing for the rest of the movie because if you don't develop a richness for your characters and don't really explain a situation or put them in a situation that brings out our desire to really like them or follow them, then we don't really care. And to me, as I was watching this film, I was more interested in what Ares was doing and what Ares was going to discover and why that was going to work, but not in the CEO or any of the other characters around her. It's interesting because we get to see multiple grids, which is fascinating. And some of that really bothered me in one sense, and some of it was cool in another sense. So, yes, there is a whole section in the last third of the movie that is complete member berries. And it's great because it's a nod to the very first Tron. And yes, if you're going to watch this, I would say watch the first Tron. I would always watch Tron Legacy. Tron Legacy is a good movie, but unfortunately, they don't really continue much of the Tron Legacy storyline in this. And I wish they did. And I think that's the biggest thing that disappoints everybody because Tron Legacy was such a phenomenal sequel and it blew open the doors on what the world could be. This one was marketed as, hey, let's blow the doors off of it and continue off of it, but it doesn't do that. It's a separate story, and a story, instead of it being a big storyline, like you look at the trailers and think, oh gosh, they're invading our world, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not even about that. And that's the problem with this, is the expectation versus the reality. And that's the problem. I know why, for some reason, for Spaceball 2, investors need smack. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Darth Wanker says, yeah, story wasn't great. Characters were flat and boring. And effects, woo. Yeah, it did have effects. It's about the money, money, money. Yeah, it is. It is. It's about the money, money, money. But also, I think the problem is that I think Disney doesn't have the writing crew that knows how to write a really good developed story. And sorry that my dryer is going off. It's hard to do laundry while you're at the movies. But yeah, I mean, this one, it just doesn't live up to expectations. And I think the expectation was that it would continue with Tron Legacy. My other aspect of this that I really had a problem with, there's an interesting scene where you have the bad guys infiltrating the good guys' grid. And you would think that there would be a certain character protecting that grid, and that character's not there. And so it's disappointing not to have any semblance of Tron in his own movie. So part-time planting, the first half of Tron Ares went fast. At that point, I was like, start down and let's get to the story, but there wasn't one. Where are my manners, Rob? Hey, chat. Hey, part-time planning. Yeah, it started off and it gets going, and you kind of get some interesting stuff. But yeah, you're right that the story, it's just an A storyline, and that's the problem with this. Not good writers and didn't love or understand the lore on the IP. Yeah, I think so too, Darth Wanker. But I think the problem with this is that you had a concept for it, which was kind of interesting, but you didn't deliver. You didn't deliver the why, and you give us an A storyline. So, guys, when you're looking at a story, you want to set up the why in your first initial, 30 minutes of the movie. So take, like, for instance, this great movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay. You have Indiana Jones, you've established his character, you established Belloc as a villain right in the first scenes, and then you have him meet with the government who's asking about the Yahtzees wanting to go for the Ark and what the danger it could pose. All that's in the first part of the movie, so you understand the why right up front. In this movie, you're given a MacGuffin type thing, but you don't understand why. Why is it important to have this? What is the end goal for it? You get some of that at the end, but really, is that, it's almost like a fantasy type thing. I'm like, well, wait a minute, you're doing this, this, and this. And the other aspect of it, I kind of feel, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Do you understand what you did at the end here? Now there's an interesting aspect at the end. There's a post-credit scene that comes up right away, and then don't stay with your entire credits because it's not worth it. If you go see it, just after that one scene, you'll see that was kind of cool, but it was another member berry. But the fact that you're basically doing what they said they did at the end, it's just, that's great, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So it's just, wait a minute, what are you trying to say here? There is an aspect about life that they're trying to talk about in this, but the problem is they kind of sugarcoat it and don't give you anything at the end that just will wow you or change you or do anything, Tron Legacy did that better, and Tron, the first one, did it a lot better too. But this one doesn't do that. Yeah, so tired of the post-credit crack. Well, this one has a post-credit scene like right as the credits start to roll. So it's like you're only watching credits for like a minute, and then you see it, and then after that, there's nothing. So, but yeah, I mean, there's something that they were trying to do here, and they didn't do it. So this movie's flat, but it's not incredibly bad. Like, it's not Snow White bad. It's not Star Wars sequel trilogy bad. But it wasn't great. And it wasn't a movie that I put in like the good to great. I give it like a 5.5. I wouldn't put it. I think Superman's a richer story, even though the villain was awful. It's better than Fantastic Four. I'll give it that. Because you didn't have this overwhelmingly woke stuff, but you, at the same time, you don't have a real, you have something there, but you only have one character. So the problem with it is like, it's like, it felt like if you're writing a story and, your first draft is not always the best draft of the story you write. How you write it, and then you realize that you need to flesh out some of the other plot lines and some of the other characters. That's what this movie needed, and that's what this movie's lacking, and that's the problem with Ares. You've got an A story which is interesting, and you have the character there, but it's just lacking the B and C storyline, and it's lacking the richness of the characters to really build it up. That, and here are the other aspects that I didn't like is major company is not going to have their own. I mean, they have some security grid, but they don't have their own protector of a grid. You have a CEO that you wouldn't pick up in a helicopter and take somewhere, or you wouldn't have security around them. Kind of falls flat. You have another CEO of another company that what's his purpose? Why is he looking for the MacGuffin in this? Why is that so important for him? Now, there's an aspect of it, but at the same time, it's like, well, what is this really going to do for his business? But yeah, cowbell. It needs more cowbell. Sounds like, yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's kind of my review of it. I don't, a lot of people reviewed it and said it was bad. And I don't know if they're Tron fans or are like all the Tron movies. For a normal person watching this who hasn't really not a huge fan of the Tron movies, I don't think they would like this very much at all. I think for Tron fans, there are member berries. There's other stuff, but it's not a rich enough story for me, and that's what I don't like. It pales Legacy and it pales the original Tron. I mean, you could almost do this as a made-for-TV movie. It's kind of one of those things where it's a made-for-TV movie almost in a way. The writing is on par with like a made-for-TV movie, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, that's the problem with this movie. That's the problem with sequels. You need to honor the past, but should stand on its own for the new viewer. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Should stand on its own. I mean, this one, it could have stood on its own because you had an interesting concept that tied it to the original. But you didn't develop a why for it and anything more for it in order to do that. You have Ares that he's the only one, but you don't give any more oomph to anything. It's flat, and that's what it is. I mean, I would say if the effects and the music weren't good, it'd be even worse. But the effects and the music are pretty good, and you don't totally hate the characters completely. There's some minor woke stuff in there, but it's not full on woke. It's not. You don't have a girl boss that can do it all on her own. It starts to seem that way at first, but when she realizes that, hey, I need this person to do this and this person to do that. So, Herc 130, Nine Inch Nails soundtrack sounds good. Yeah, Nine Inch Nails soundtrack was really good, and I think it goes really well with the movie. I'm not a big fan of Nine Inch Nails. I like some of their stuff. I mean, they've written some really good stuff over the years, and certainly their sound fits perfectly into this movie. The soundtrack and the sounds of the movie and the score were just amazing, and I think it really moves the show forward. I mean, the pacing is great because of the music, but yeah, it's just there's just something that's just not there. That's just flat with it. But anyway, yeah. What other questions you guys have about it? If you want me to go into spoiler territory, I can. Just let me know if you want to go into spoiler territory, because I want to make sure that if somebody didn't want to see a spoiler, let them know. What? They are still a band? I like Nine Inch Nails, and I can see it all working together. But geez, it's 2025. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, yeah, Nine Inch Nails. They had some good hits and stuff. I mean, but all right, guys. If you guys want me to, I'm gonna go into spoilers real quick. There will be minor spoilers. So spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here come the spoilers. Okay, so the spoilers, basically the MacGuffin of this is what they want to do is they're wanting to find a Flint's program that would allow somebody from the grid to basically live forever in our world. So the whole premise is they have Ares and everything, but those computer programs can only last 29 minutes in our world. And apparently Kevin Flynn had figured out how to make it permanent. And so what happens is, Dillinger has set up these guys and going to sell them to the military as weapons, and he can rebuild them. They're dispensable, but I guess he wants the permanent thing to make them permanent. But at the same time, it's like, okay, what are the ramifications of that? And so the CEO goes to Alaska and finds this hidden bunker, and then finds Kevin Flynn's old program, which is the program to make him permanent. And that's what this whole thing's about. This whole movie's about making them permanent and trying to find a way to make them permanent in this world. Which is an interesting concept, but at the same time, they don't go any deeper with it. They don't go anywhere. I mean, they go deeper with the character, but that's it. You don't get anything else with that. And there's the whole orange tree and the whole thing. It's like from the first Tron, when they take the orange and they make it disappear, and they're trying to repopulate it, redigitize it. It's almost the opposite of that, where instead of taking something from the real world and digitizing it into the computer world, you're taking something from the computer world and creating it into the real world. Which, I mean, it's kind of an interesting concept, but at the same time, the whole aspect of it is, what do you do with that? How do you flesh that out? And that's the problem. That's the storyline. And there's not enough stakes in it, and there's not enough intensity with it. So, yeah. Smith from the Matrix. Okay. Writers really stretched that one. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that's what it is. That's what it's about. And, the CEO of MCOM finds out, and Dillinger is trying to get her. And Ares turns from the bad guy to the good guy. That's the movie. That's your whole movie in a nutshell. So, anyway, folks, any other questions? Anything else you guys want to know? I would say that if you're a big fan of Tron, maybe check this out in like 3D. But if you're not a big fan of Tron, if you're a casual fan, don't waste your time. This movie is about a 5.5. Good question. Why? Why did they green light this? I don't know. I think they green lit it because Jared Leto wanted that, and he's a producer on there. I think they were trying to go for a niche. I think that the problem is that what's going on in Hollywood is Gen Xers now have some more disposable income, and so they're trying to target Gen Xers with member berries, such as myself, and drive those into profits or into something. But the problem is that they don't have the writers that can bring it forward. You have writers that bring in the member berries, and there's member berries in this that are good with Kevin Flynn and with the original grid that you get to see, which is great. It was nostalgic, and it was okay. That's interesting, but the story was so flat that if that's all I'm here to see, then why am I watching this? Why do I care what happens in that? So that's the problem. Same old song and dance from the studios. Too many chiefs in the kitchen. Movies have to become generic blah now. Yeah, exactly. Uh, did it have a writer or pre-production issues, or was it subpar? Cuz didn't hear anything about the shooting problems. I don't know if there was anything with the shooting problems. I mean, it has lots of good effects. It moves. Um, the shots are okay. I didn't have a problem with the shots or technical aspects of this movie. I had problems with the story. Um, I mean, the story, I just, it was like, okay, this happens, this happens, that. And it's linear thinking rather than a richness, you know? Um, so, I mean, you look at the stories, like the other poster behind me, Back to the Future, and it's not just about him going back in time, it's about his dad, it's about his mom, it's about Biff, it's about Doc. There's A, B, and C storylines to Back to the Future that give it depth and give it richness. There's not B and C and D storylines to Tron Ares that give it a depth for me to really care as much about it. And that's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems with Hollywood is they're putting out stuff. And we saw this with Star Trek Picard, and I know a lot of people liked it, and sure, member berries in there, but the problem is that you're basing it just on member berries instead of giving us a good story. And those of us that want depth, that want stuff, that want an imaginative world that's gonna move our characters and people we love and things we love forward, it doesn't give that to you. And that's what this movie doesn't do. That reminds me, gotta run to the corner store and get my plutonium for the weekend. Yes. yes. 1985, I suppose plutonium is on every corner grocery store. In 1955, it's a little hard to come by. And by the way, folks, Back to the Future is coming back to theaters at the end of this month. I'm definitely going to get my tickets and go see it on the big screen again because I love that movie. It's great. But anyway, folks, if you got any more questions, let me know. I'll probably wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. Don't want to make a too long video, but just wanted to come on and give my thoughts on this. Tron Ares, it's about a 5. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying, but I don't think it's good. I think it falls flat, and it's a 5 for me. It's an okay movie. It's not a good movie. It's not a great movie. It's not an excellent movie. And it doesn't do it. And it's the writing more so than anything. The writing, there's no depth. That's what I would say about this movie. So folks, I would love to rip this movie to shreds, but there's only so much you can rip about it. I mean, I don't like the fact that Tron's not in it. I don't like the fact that there's stuff with surrounding a CEO where they don't have protection or security or anything like that. I don't like the fact that their grid doesn't have Tron or somebody, a protector. I don't like that the villains aren't more developed and more of a threat because they're not. I don't like that there's not enough of a why and enough richness to any of the characters other than Ares. He's the only character that kind of has any depth. But other than that, that's it. So. All right, folks. Well, hey, for those of you that were live, thank you for being here. Those of you watching the replay, please leave a comment. Please like, subscribe. Guys, I got to tell you what's coming up tomorrow. Heather L. and I are doing a review of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's going to be an incredible review because we're going to talk about the actual history of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, tell you about the actual people. We're going to talk about the filming of the movie, which has some interesting stories to it. We're going to talk about the movie itself. I've got screenshots from the entire movie that we're going to go through. And then we're going to ask questions about, hey, did Butch possibly survive? There's some stuff with that. So it's a lot of information, a lot of cool stuff. So you got that coming up. And then the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be putting out either videos or maybe doing live streams. My next videos that I want to get in for Halloween are definitely a review of Sleepy Hollow, the Disney Sleepy Hollow that we all love, that I grew up with, that my parents grew up with. That's just a timeless classic to me. A review of that. And then I want to get into another thing about Halloween that I love, and that's the Simpsons Halloween specials. I'm going to do a ranking of the top 10 Simpsons Halloween specials. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you like that. Because if we do that, I may do that as a live stream and go with my top 10 and let people talk about what they love or ones that they love on that. So anyway, folks, I hope everybody has a good evening or day or morning or other evening whenever you watch this. If you're watching this prior to Sunday afternoon, 5:30 Central, come check us out. If not, check it out in one of my video streams, because the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid video is going to be an incredible live stream. I hope you guys have a lot of fun with it. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Everybody take care, and we'll see you in the next one.